copy the Facebook model and you'll be happy. And this is exactly what we don't want. First needed to cooperate with the crazy people, right? What we say is actually that we do press releases with those guys about the adoption. This is the marketing that we do. We do nothing else. We are useful. We are not greedy. We are doing it in a way that it should be.
Hello and welcome to Crypto Interviews. My name is Claudio and joining me today is Ingo Rübe, who is the founder and CEO of Kilt Protocol. And it's going to be an interesting talk because I'm sure you're excited to hear what Kilt have to bring to the table. I mean, they've been quite in the spotlight for some time now when it comes to the parachains on Polkadot. So he's here to share the latest from Kilt. Ingo, welcome. How have you been? How have you been doing so far?
We're doing great. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, I see you've got a table there right behind you. So you've been busy planning the next, release when it comes to Kilt Protocol. Something exciting that the community will surely be looking forward to.
Actually, we made the release, the big one, quite a big one, yesterday. So yesterday we introduced new functionality to Kilt Protocol, which was like brewing for almost a year.
Just in case there is somebody who's watching this and they've never heard of Kilt before, and they're watching this on my channel, I'm sure I know a lot of people heard about Kilt, but just in case, if you could please maybe summarize Kilt shortly, what are you trying to achieve at Kilt Protocol?
Yes, but very quickly. So we are a parachain to Polkadot, and parachains are normally very single purpose, right? So there's one parachain like Moonbeam, which does smart contracts and EVM compatibility and so on. And then there's some which are more in the DeFi sector. And we concentrate 100% on digital identity. We do nothing else, just digital identity. And so for digital identity, we took the approach to implement, not only implement, but also work on the standardization of digital identity, which has been taking place for the last 5-6 years. We've been involved there, and we are in implementation of what has been standardized basically last year, and this is called DIDs, decentralized identifiers, and VCs, verifiable credentials. So Kilt is a blockchain implementation of DIDs and verifiable identifiers. So this is the technical part or the standardization part. What can you do with it? Basically, when you look at the identity that you have in the physical world, so the old identity, it basically always consists of two things. First, there's identifiers. This is your face, your fingerprint, your signature, things that you make up yourself, right? They're not given to you by a government or by a company or something or by a blockchain. And then, of course, this is not the identity. This is only part of it. This is identifying you. And then to make it an identity, you add verifiable credentials to that. That can be your passport, which is issued by a trusted entity called government. Could be your university degree issued by a trusted entity called university. And it could be your library card issued by a trusted entity called library, right? So you collect lots of these thingies, plastic cards, papers, and so on, which always refer to one of your identifiers. So for example, your passport has a picture of your face in, so this is how the two connect. And this actually in the physical world was pretty privacy preserving because you owned your credentials, right? You have your passport, you decide who to show it to, for what purpose, and so on. So it's pretty decentralized, and it's based on an extremely decentralized thing, which is the identifiers, because you make them yourself. So that was actually not that bad. And in the digital world, we went into a very, very wrong direction by having Facebook and Google basically providing the identities for any user. And this is a bit dangerous because they could actually switch off your digital identity if they wanted. And also this produces a lot of power concentration and stuff. And this is what we don't want and what actually nobody wants. So this is why DIDs and verifiable credentials actually go the other route and look at the physical world and say, how can we transport the system that we have in the physical world into the digital world? So the first thing when you work with Kilt is that you make your own DID. So you download a piece of software and you make the DID on your computer like you make your face yourself, right? We don't know about it. It's 100% perfectly yours. And then you go up to trusted entities, that can be other companies, that can be, I don't know, banks, that could in the future also be governments. you walk up to them and say, here's my identifier, please certify that I am, don't know, German. And then you get a credential which says you are German, and you store it in your wallet. And when somebody at the border asks you, okay, can you actually enter this country, then please show me your passport, then you decide to open your digital wallet and show your passport thingy. So this is what we implement. This is Kilt.
Absolutely awesome. I really like that idea. But now the big question is, what about integrations? Because you need the government to actually accept that. And it's not, we're not only talking about at a country level, but we're talking about like a wider level, right? We're talking about, let's say, EU at the beginning, and then maybe spread across that. So how are you going to achieve that, do you think? What are your plans?
We're not even thinking of that. Because it is not important. It is so governments are not really important in this game. What is important is industry. Industry needs to make the adoption, because government always follows industry. You will never see, when you have a new technology, you will never see in any case the government adopting it first. This never happens. It is always driven by industry. So what we do is we drive the industrial adoption of decentralized identifiers and verifiable credentials, and they like that very much, because identity is a very crucial thing. And if identity is owned by a company which is not yours, and with your work you make this company bigger, then this is always a bad feeling for any type of industry. They don't want that. They don't want Facebook and Google to be the holders and the creators of identity. They rather want it in a decentralized way, like it was before. So forget the passport. The passport is not really important. It is just a use case which will eventually come up in 10 years or so. We thought in the beginning it might be interesting to talk with governments. After 2 years of talking to governments, we thought, okay, this is a huge waste of time. They are just not interested in it, because they would rather have the Facebook model. When you talk to a government, then those people who are sitting there, they have had consultants, and the consultants always tell them, copy the Facebook model and you'll be happy. And this is exactly what we don't want. And the industry is much further ahead. They see we can't copy the Facebook model because Facebook is already that big. How can we compete against them? It's virtually impossible. So we have to come together and make corporations like in the DIF, the Decentralized Identity Foundation, where there's more than 300 companies active, smaller companies like us, but also big ones like Microsoft and IBM. So those people are already following the way into DIDs and verifiable credentials. And at one point, you will have so much of your digital identity on your computer in DIDs and verifiable credential that the government is forced to also go that route, because otherwise they will lose contact. The same thing like with the internet, right? In the beginning, they didn't like the internet because it was so decentralized and not really controllable. This is not what governments actually like. But now any government I know has a website. 30 years ago, that was unthinkable.
Yeah, you're true. You're right. Absolutely. And what's interesting is that I saw an article posted recently by CoinTelegraph that the European Union wants to open up EIDs to companies to build something related to that, so that they can be implemented at obviously airports or anywhere else where you need identity. So I was thinking, that could be good for digital companies like yourself, where you could perhaps use that as a doorway to come forward and say, look, this is what we're building. And I know that they were also focusing on privacy, because privacy is another issue when it comes to personal data. So, you could have like a great opportunity to work with someone like Manta Network, for example, who are working with privacy on Polkadot, and you're doing digital identity. So perhaps some kind of merger there to come up with a product and say, look, this is what we can build. This is what we can offer you. So I think that could be good, especially starting in the EU, because, EU are always more open compared to the US, for example, when it comes to these things.
It's totally the other way around. Everyone is faster, better than the EU. And this initiative of the EU, which you are mentioning, is going totally 100% in the wrong direction. It is the Facebook model again. The assumption that they have is that the identifier, so your face, your fingerprint, and your signature, is owned by the government first. So, and then everything on top of that is a little bit decentralized, that they own your identifier. And now just think of what they are. So just imagine a government comes and says, I don't like you owning your face, your fingerprint, and your signature. Let us do that. I'm a little bit concerned about that because then we say actually it has to be owned by the people. You can't make it worse than it was before, because today I own my face and in the future you want to own my face. I don't like that. And then I say, yeah, but you can trust us, we are democratically elected. And the problem is that's true, that if data is given to a government, of course the next government also has the data. And who can guarantee me that that the next government, or maybe another government in 10 years, is still very, very, very much democratic and maybe doesn't have a policy around people with glasses are actually bad and they should have taken their identity away. If governments can take my identity away, this is very, very dangerous. So this is what the European Union does here, is something which is, I would call a totalitarian approach. And this should, so the approach, it's nice that they give a lot of money to small companies, which then build nice little applications, and they are all thrown into the trash can later, because it's totally wrong what they do, but it's nice for feeding startups with money. So I'm not totally against what they're doing there, but honestly speaking, it's a total waste of time and money.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, let's move on to the next topic and talk about the Polkadot again. So what is the reason that you chose Polkadot to begin with? I know that you started off on Kusama, but I'm talking about at the ecosystem level. Like why did you choose this ecosystem to develop, and why not Cardano, for example, or Ethereum, or anything else that has been around for a while?
Yes. So first, when we started the project like 5 years ago, we were, of course, first looking at Ethereum because it was there. While looking at it, we noticed, unfortunately, we can't work with those guys because identity is something that happens very, very often. It doesn't only happen for people, it happens also for IoT devices, for little objects which cost maybe €2 or $2 in manufacturing. But if then linking an identity to it would cost a transaction on Ethereum, which is sometimes $100, then that doesn't really make sense. So you have an object which costs $2 and then a $100 certification, that no one is going to use that. So if you want to have, if you want to go for industrial adoption with identity, you have to be totally cheap, and you cannot achieve that on Ethereum. So Ethereum was not an option for us. So then we started looking around for frameworks where we could build our own blockchain, because the only way to control the gas cost is in the end that you build your own blockchain. And there were not many out there by the time in 2018. And then we decided for Polkadot, because they were technologically very much advanced compared to anything else that we saw. And I think nobody talked about Cardano and this stuff at this time, actually. So we went down the Polkadot route, and especially looking at the Solanas, the Cardanos of the world, so the so-called Ethereum killers. I think we made the totally right decision, because Polkadot is the only one of these projects which actually really follows the route of decentralization and is not just a huge marketing hype. So you will find the best developers and the brightest minds always in the Polkadot universe and nowhere else. So and this is where we have to be. And my prediction would be that that doing good things in the right way and not getting yourself corrupted by money and stuff like that normally on the long run leads to success. So I'm pretty happy to be part of this ecosystem, because the right people are there and they are minded in the right direction, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. Now, I need to ask you, what was the reason you decided to first deploy on Kusama and then migrate completely off Kusama and abandon it and focus only on Polkadot?
Yeah, so there was, so why did we move? We had to move because it is we use Polkadot as an audit system for security, right? So this is what we do. So we send every block to Polkadot, they make a security audit on it, send it back basically. This is the functionality, the core functionality of Polkadot. Kusama was never meant for bank level security and stuff. This was what Polkadot was good for, right? Kusama was meant for training purposes, for building cool stuff, for building cool shit faster than the others, making fantastic projects. But it was never meant in a way that it goes live on an industry scale. And when we noticed last year that the first big industry projects are coming up for Kilt, of course, those people said, okay, but not on Kusama, right? Because it's not a test net, but it's a canary net. So Polkadot puts, or Parity or whoever, or the community puts new functionality on Kusama, and in one place it could break at one point, right?
Yeah.
This is what you don't want. So you want to have the bank level security and the audited stuff and the tested stuff, which is on Polkadot when you do industry level things. This is the reason why we had to move. So we enjoyed very much our life on Kusama. You can imagine it was actually much more fun because all the absolutely crazy people doing absolutely crazy stuff are where Kusama is, and this is where the fun is. And now we are more in the business league, so it's Polkadot.
But I have to ask you, so why did you decide to deploy on Kusama to begin with? What was the reason behind being there and not just wait for Polkadot parachain auctions to go live and then to just try to win a slot and go straight to Polkadot from testnet to Polkadot rather than...
Because you first needed to cooperate with the crazy people, right? So if you think of a system which is an implementation of a standard which is not even standardized at that time, right? Then you probably do something which is not really what the people want, right? So it is like you work for 4 years and have a vision in mind, and then you present it to the public. What will the public say? They will say, yeah, could you add this functionality, please? Otherwise we can't work. Oh, this is really cool, but no one can work with it because it's too complicated and stuff like that. You get those feedbacks. And those feedbacks you don't want to get on Polkadot when you are already on industrial level. You want to get them from a cool community who's able and willing to use the stuff that you deployed there and play around with it and break it and stuff like that, right? This is what Kusama is for, and this is what we used Kusama for 1 year. And then when we had the feeling, okay, now we are actually stable enough and good enough for getting industrial adoption, then we moved over to Polkadot.
Yeah. So do you recommend?
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so now, do you recommend anyone who plans to start a parachain to first go on Kusama, test things out, get the feedback, and then go to Polkadot? Or do you recommend them to go straight to Polkadot now? Like, how would you see yourself if you were to repeat the same thing now?
I would do the same thing exactly like that again. It's totally cool to work on Kusama. You find a very fast, very open community there. It is the place to play around and to make experiments. Definitely, it is the best place. If you are a company which is not going for industrial adoption, which also is totally feasible, then you should even stay on Kusama, I would say. Because you're moving faster there. You're having a very cool community around you, not so much money focused, industry focused, but building focused much more. And so if you don't have to move to Polkadot, you shouldn't move to Polkadot. You should stay in the nice Kusama community. If you want industrial adoption, you should first go to Kusama and test your stuff there and then move over to Polkadot. But you should never go Polkadot only. I think this is not the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. Now, I have to ask you about the dual coin model, because Kilt has a single coin model. I mean, you use the same coin on Kusama and then on Polkadot. What's your opinion on the ones that have the dual coin model? Do you agree with that or do you disagree?
I think anyone can do whatever they want. Everyone has reasons for that. Our reasoning was basically because we said, actually, we are not going to. So we're only going to do one crowd loan at all. So nothing else. And this crowd loan is obviously on Kusama. So because it was the first. but how can we actually have the people there benefit also from the Polkadot model? Or being on Polkadot. So we said, okay, then we have to take this one coin where the people did the crowd loan and move this and transform that over to the Polkadot ecosystem. If people have different networks, for example, which have different reasons. So one is more experimental and gets new functionality, and this has its coin on Kusama, and then another one which is more industrial, which has its coin on Polkadot. This is totally fine. So I think everyone has good reasons for doing what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's true. And I was just curious to get your thoughts, to see what you think of that, because there are teams out there that say we want to migrate off Kusama completely, just like Kilt did. We don't think it's viable to continue. And then there are some that say, actually, we need Kusama, like Moonriver and Moonbeam, for example. They say, no, we need Kusama. We love it. We want to do our testing on there in a real life staging environment, because ultimately that's what it is. And to basically just continue on that, So I just wanted to get your thoughts and see what you think about that, and if you thought it would be.
I think every project has their individual needs and goals, and you will see different strategies.
What is your plan for marketing going forward for Kilt to continue to spread the word and make it known?
Yeah, so the only thing that we do is actually that we talk about the product. Talking about the product, I think there's the best way to do that is actually to make examples. So what is most important for us is actually that we get adoption inside and outside the blockchain ecosystem. So inside the blockchain ecosystem, it's very important for us, because this is the fast adopters. This is the people who actually do great things and get the initial adoption. And then it's also important for us to get industry adoption, because this is then the big numbers. Because the industry, if we like it or not, we are in a bubble, and the bubble is pretty small, right? So the whole crypto thing is a small bubble, and the outside world is much bigger than us. So we have to, from time to time, we forget that, but it's good to remember that. So if we want to have blockchain technology being successful long term, we cannot neglect industry. So we are going out there doing industry adoption. I think you will see in the next 2 or 3 months there will be nice, interesting news from us from various sectors that we can show real-world adoption to Kilt, so that they actually use the stuff. Because if nobody uses it, then it's basically pretty futile to build something, right? So this is really important, and this is the marketing we do. The marketing we do is solely that. So if there's a great big company or a small company in the crypto sphere, maybe working together with another big company outside in the industry sector, whatever you have, what we say is actually that we do press releases with those guys about the adoption. This is the marketing that we do. We do nothing else. This is the only thing that we can do, and I think it's also the right way. When you look at Polkadot, Polkadot has been criticized very much for not shilling their coin like some other projects like Ethereum killers did, maybe, but just providing technology. We do exactly the same. We are just providing technology. We are providing adoption. We are useful. We are not greedy. We are doing it in a way that it should be, and we have our intellectual goals, but also we actually want to provide something to a world which is better than the state which we have now in the digital world. And this is the goal of the whole thing. And when you do that, you may be a little bit slower than others, because you're not hyped that much. But I think long run, this is going to win, and this is why Polkadot is winning, I think. And this is the same way that we go, and we also hope to win.
And by the way, are you a bit worried about the fact that there is so much good tech in Polkadot? We do have so many developers, but then the liquidity is not really there, like we are seeing with other ecosystems. And I'm not talking about shilling here or promotion. I'm talking purely about the liquidity. So number of users who are locking up their assets within the ecosystem and are transacting. So, I mean, do you see that as a concern?
Well, I think it's just a matter of time. So there's not a lot of industry adoption out there in Polkadot terms. We will see more. So there's not only Kilt, there's also Astar doing a very good job in that direction. We have some projects out there who really get on this train and do industry adoption, and then they will find tons of users out there, and then it will be much better liquidity wise, probably. So it's just a matter of time, and I think it's not good to take shortcuts. Actually, do whatever. So we are in a way market dependent. If we don't deliver too much to the market at the given point here, then liquidity might be low, but we know how to make it bigger. Just get more adoption in the industry. This is how it works. If you do it by, I don't know, there's probably things that other projects out there in the world of Ethereum killers do, but this is short term, right? So maybe, and sometimes it's also very centralized when you look at FTX and stuff like that. FTX is not going to save crypto.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. I mean, it's all about the adoption at the end of the day. Now, I need to ask you about the current narrative that we've got at the moment with regards to DOT morphing to a security. That rule does apply to DOT, and we don't know 100% sure if it's really 100% happening or if it has happened. This is just what's being discussed at the moment with lawyers, etc. Right? We need to wait for that no action letter from the SEC. But there has been a discussion going on with regards to parachains having to follow the same path in order to be considered a software or just not a security or maybe a utility. Do you know what Kilt would be positioned from that regard, if you're able to talk about it? Like, are you following a similar path to Polkadot, or are you not looking at that at the moment?
We are doing things very similar to Polkadot. So why is Polkadot actually not a security? It is not a security because it has a clear utility, right? So the DOT is not for investment. It is out there for utility. You can buy a parachain or lease a parachain with it. This is a utility. Kilt also has tons of utility because when you want to have your DID published on the Kilt network, you have to pay a deposit, right? And this is what you can only do that with Kilt, right? So this is a clear utility of the coin. So if the coin has a utility, it is on a very good path of being not being a security, and the network itself being a software rather than a company. Also, Kilt is fully decentralized, so it's not me owning the Kilt network or something. We fully decentralized that already in 2021. So it is owned by the community, just like Polkadot. So we are following a pretty close to the path of Polkadot, and I think it's actually the only right path, and this will be valued by regulators sooner or later, because this is what crypto is meant for. If you do a totally centralized thing, like some of the Ethereum killers, we see one of the big projects being switched on and off. How can that happen? It's a blockchain. So actually, it's not logical. So apparently, there is someone who can switch it on and off. So you can't switch a Kilt on and off, and you can't switch Polkadot on and off.
Because you don't have access to that pseudo key, right? It's all about voting, governance.
Right? If you have a pseudo key, then you are running a company and not a decentralized network. And this is what regulators understand. So the path that we see from the SEC right now is absolutely fabulous, I must say, because they are pushing the blockchain world into decentralization where it actually belongs. So they're doing the right thing. Polkadot always did the right thing. We always did the right thing. We never shilled coins. We never whatever. There's things that you shouldn't do. And so we never did these things which you shouldn't do. And we can prove that.
Perfect.
It's and fully decentralized, and we have a utility. So if Polkadot becomes a software or has morphed into a software, we actually have done the same thing. Of course, we don't discuss with the SEC every day like Polkadot does, because we are not big enough, right? And they probably wouldn't even answer the phone when we call. But it's a totally a different setting, but we're doing the same thing.
Nice, interesting. Okay, thank you for sharing that. That's really good. I hope the community will appreciate it. And now I'm curious about integrations, Ingo. So tell us, what who has Kilt integrated with so far? I know one of them is definitely Kusama, because there's been a lot of talk in the community that Kilt will be integrating with Kusama, but who else are you integrating with? Like,
we are integrating currently with so many people, and my feeling is that they will all launch at the same day, or at least in the same month, which is totally not good for communication, because communication always wants it piece by piece. But I would like to ask you to wait for another month, actually,
okay,
before answer this question, because we have lots of NDAs signed and stuff like that, and I
okay,
get
no
into
problem.
terrible water when I start hinting at things.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we don't want to speculate either. I mean, we're going to get the official answer from the Kilt Twitter page. I'm sure you're going to be letting us all know. So if we follow that, then we'll know for sure. And now I do have to ask you another question, Ingo, and this is in relation to the situation with the bear market, funding for teams. So I ask this every time I interview a founder. It's in relation to how much runway do you currently have? And I don't need to know the amounts, but in terms of time frame, for you to continue to follow that roadmap and hit those milestones for Kilt?
We are not out here to generate our own income. So first of all, so this is not so it's a decentralized system. So how would you?
I mean the core team
I
to
don't even understand the
self-sustain,
question.
to self-sustain as the core team. So I mean, you want to continue contributing to Kilt, right, as the core team, but it's also open source, so other developers can join and contribute, right?
Well, be assured we have sufficient runway.
Okay.
So it's we are not in any, so we are not somehow affected by the winter. All good.
Okay. As
Yeah.
long as there will be no redundancies or worries like that, like we've seen with Coinbase, for example, and we have seen other teams as well, letting people go, that is a concern. So, that's why I always prefer to ask just to.
Yeah, we are not centralized. We're decentralized. Apparently, decentralized systems don't have these problems as the centralized currently have. So
Yeah.
we have not let anyone go. We have no plans for letting anyone go.
Okay.
No, it's just we're doing fine. Thank you.
Okay, that sounds good. That's all we wanted to know. Thank you. Now, what exciting things are coming up with Kilt, if you can share, please? Like, what can we really look forward to? Something like, if you can give us, I don't know, a sneak preview or something that
now
we
we
can
are
expect.
Now we're back at question number one, and this is what I'm really excited about. This is something we have been working on, like, I think 9 months or so. Actually, the initial idea came from Parity, because they said they would need something like that, and Kilt doesn't do it. And then we said, yeah, maybe, and then we thought about it, and now the solution is there, and I really, really like it. And it has been set live yesterday, and it will go live with the first partner in March already. And so we are working in parallel, of course, on testnet and stuff. What is it? It's called public credentials and asset DIDs. So DID is something that you have in your wallet, right? But an asset doesn't have a wallet. It is, for example, an NFT. How can an NFT have a wallet, right? That's not possible.
Yeah.
So it must be possible to describe an NFT in a unique way, no matter on which chain it is. So it can be on a Binance chain, it can be on Ethereum chain or a Moonbeam or somewhere. So it's an NFT, but we have to describe it uniquely. And we found a way, and it's a standardized way to describe any NFT uniquely. So this is the first thing. And when you have the unique description, so CryptoPunk 77 has a large number, and this number will never change, no matter who owns CryptoPunk 77 today.
Yeah.
So if you have this number, then you can attach credentials to that, and they are held on the Kilt blockchain. So one person could say CryptoPunk in the 77 is really an ugly picture. And then this information is really an ugly picture is linked to CryptoPunk 77. Okay, let's make a better example. Let's say you make a piece of art, and then a gallerist comes and says, I'm displaying this in my gallery. So the gallerist can say, I have displayed this picture in my gallery. So now it becomes more valuable, right? Because it is displayed by this famous gallerist. And the information that the gallerist displayed it is linked to the NFT without really linking it to the NFT. So the NFT lives on Binance Smart Chain, and the information about it lives on the Kilt blockchain. But even if the ownership of the NFT changes, the information will always be attached to it. And this opens up a whole new world of business cases, from watches which have theft protection to NFTs, of course, and many other things. We have been discussing for half a year with many projects who want to use this, and we see the first adoption already in the first month, and this is fantastic. And I think it changes a lot in the NFT world, because it actually brings utility to NFTs, because NFTs right now are just collectible and tradable, but now they can carry information about themselves. They can you can vote them up, you can vote them down, and stuff like that. All these things are now possible with NFTs. This is a huge thing, and we're going to present that first time on the South by Southwest SXSW South by Southwest in Austin in March.
Thank you very much, Ingo. I really appreciate you sharing all this information. If you want to check out Kilt, by the way, I'm going to be posting links in the description of this video and also in the pinned comment. Thank you once again for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. Ingo, thank you, and hopefully I'll bring you on in the future to talk about future updates when we have a lot of more exciting things to share. Thank you, and have a lovely day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.